Hi guys, this is Sliver here, and I just wanted to make this video really quickly because today's patch has released and we thought it's going to be a bunch of boring bug fixes, but instead Blizzard has decided to release a full Goblin event once again, and this was a surprise release. They didn't announce it. And of course this increases the chance of goblins spawning everywhere, and they also have some good loot. For example, it is quite possible that farming goblins is now the best way to farm Obducite in the game, so that's why I decided I'm going to tell you what is the best way to farm goblins in the new event of Diablo 4 Season 9. There are generally two main ways. One of them is the treasure breach method and the second one is the open world method. I'm going to explain both of them in this video. Generally speaking, the first one is better if you have treasure breach, nightmare dungeon sigils, and in all other cases, the second one, the open world method, is better. Well, first of all, hands down the best way to farm goblins is the treasure breach nightmare dungeon sigils and the nightmare dungeons that you open with them. Unfortunately, these treasure breach sigils are very rare. For example, I crafted, let's say, 200 of them and I only managed to get one. But as you can see, if you manage to get your hands on a treasure breach nightmare dungeon sigil, then the nightmare dungeon itself will contain a ridiculous amount of goblins, upwards to 30 per dungeon. And of course, these goblins will drop bags, they will drop Obducite, they will drop obols, they will drop a ridiculous amount of ancestral legendaries for you. The question is, of course, how to get these nightmare dungeon sigils with the treasure breach affix. Well, first of all, you can either run nightmare dungeons continuously over and over again, and at the end of the nightmare dungeon you will get a random nightmare dungeon sigil, and this sigil might have the treasure breach affix on it. I suggest doing this in a group because if either of you gets the affix, then you can run the treasure breach immediately. The dungeon is also faster, obviously. Another possible way to farm these treasure breach sigils is by doing the escalating nightmare dungeons, and at the end of the escalating nightmare dungeons, Astaroth might drop you multiple nightmare dungeon sigils, and one of those may have the treasure breach affix. Also, each layer, each part of the escalating nightmare dungeon has a chance of having this treasure breach affix for you. Either way, I suggest using a class that can speed farm for these farms, for example a Evade Spiritborn, or you can use a sorcerer that can teleport without any cooldown. Another possible way of obtaining these nightmare dungeon sigils with the treasure breach affix would be crafting them using sigil powder. I don't really recommend this because sources of sigil powder are not very good, but if you want to, for example, whisper caches contain some sigil powder, Helltide chests contain some sigil powder, and I believe it takes 60 sigil powder to craft a nightmare dungeon sigil. You can also salvage your previous nightmare dungeon sigils at the occultist for 15 sigil powder each. Again, please beware that the treasure breach affix is very rare, so you might have to go through hundreds of nightmare dungeon sigils until you find it. Okay, but if you don't have a treasure breach nightmare dungeon sigil, you can still farm goblins in the outside open world, and this can be very efficient too. How? First of all, you should have Subo as your mercenary because he lets you see goblins from far away. All you have to do is open your map and then you'll be seeing the goblins that are not that far away from you. And this range, the range that you can see the goblins from, is further increased if you are on a mount, on a horse, on a tiger, on a jaguar, whatever mount you have. So what you should do is the following. You should get to the south of Nahantu and then run around the whole Nahantu zone trying to find goblins. You should always be on your mount and checking the map for goblins while you are not fighting one. So ideally, you should be killing a goblin, getting on your mount, opening the map and looking for another goblin. If you do not see one on the minimap, then move a little bit further and then look again until you see a goblin, then kill it, then get on your mount, open the map, look for a goblin, and yada yada yada, repeating. and this will net you a ridiculous amount of Obducite, a ridiculous amount of Murmuring Obols for you to gamble, and a high amount of Ancestral Legendaries as well. While you are running around, you should also check each shrine for whether it is a greed shrine or not. The reason being, if you are under the effect of a greed shrine, then killing a certain amount of enemies will spawn multiple treasure goblins for you, so this will further increase the amount of treasure goblins that you can farm in a certain period of time. So look for the shrines as well. In case you don't find any goblins in the Nohontu region, then don't be afraid to move to other regions, because every part of the continent has increased chances of spawning treasure goblins. And this is what I wanted to talk about for this video. If you liked it, then feel free to look at one of my other videos where I explore a bug in the Kura Standard City which lets you get an unlimited amount of mythic unique items for one tribute. Thank you for watching. See you guys next time. Thanks.